India crosses 2 crore daily vaccinations in a day for the first time as the government raced to deliver a record on Prime Minister Modi's birthday. BJP launches a service and dedication campaign to celebrate Prime Minister's birthday. Congress marks it as the National Unemployment Day. It wasn't time to bring petrol and diesel under GST, says the Finance Minister after GST Council Meeting. Food delivery apps like Zomato and Swiggy to pay GST. Government says it's not a new tax. Apps will pay instead of restaurants. In another new record in filling up vacancies in the judiciary, a 3-member Supreme Court collegium led by Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana, recommends elevation of 8 judges as Chief Justices of various high courts at one go. Hello and welcome to NDTV 24/7. I'm Rohit Wellington. Let's begin with our top story. India on Friday crossed 2 crore COVID vaccinations in a day for the first time as the government raced to deliver a record on Prime Minister Modi's birthday. The government had unofficially set a target of 2.5 crore vaccinations. Now, China inoculated the most number of people in a day, 2.47 crore in June. Right now, you can see the vaccinations standing at over 2 crore 31 lakh. Now, Prime Minister Modi tweeting, "Every Indian would be proud of today's record vaccination numbers. I acknowledge our doctors, innovators, administrators, nurses, healthcare and all frontline workers who have toiled to make the vaccination drive a success. Let us keep boosting vaccination to defeat COVID-19. The vaccination campaign, remember, is at the core of the BJP's 3-week celebrations to mark Prime Minister's 71st birthday. The BJP rule states particularly pulled out all the stops to achieve its target. The BJP had prepped health volunteers to ensure that the maximum number of people get their COVID-19 vaccines on the day. The health minister there celebrating with the health workers and frontline staff who are at the forefront of this battle against COVID.
क्या कहेंगे आप जनता को, क्या मैसेज देना चाहेंगे?
Thank you all health workers. Well done, India.
So India on Friday proved that we have the capability, the infrastructure to vaccinate such large numbers. And the question now is, can this be sustained? Do we have the supply of vaccines to keep up this momentum?
An extra push for a mega vaccination day to coincide with Prime Minister Modi's birthday. BJP rule states in particular pulled out all the stops. While UP officials were asked to double the number of average daily doses, Karnataka aimed to treble it.
We want to double or triple this in a single day on his special day. So we are optimistic that we would try to achieve it.
The highest number of COVID-19 vaccinations given in a single day so far in Karnataka has been 12 lakhs. The ambitious target for this mega vaccination drive is to at least double that number. 34 lakh doses were sent to the districts to help meet this day's target of 25 to 30 lakh vaccinations in the state. In Bengaluru alone, there were over 2,000 vaccination centres operating. In Uttar Pradesh, there were crowds at vaccination centres across the state, as many districts tried to double their daily vaccination targets on Prime Minister Modi's birthday. The state vaccinated under 5 lakh people on the 2 days leading up to Friday's surge.
हमारा वैक्सीनेशन 4-5 दिन बाद होने वाला था, लेकिन हमने सोचा आज मोदी जी का जन्मदिन है तो आज लगवाएं.
The targets that have been given as the daily target today are more than what you'd get on a usual day. Normal दिन में भी आप लोग काफी vaccinations करते हैं, आप बता रहे थे कितना कर लेते हैं और आज क्या टारगेट दिया गया है?
कभी 200, कभी 300 नॉर्मल में भी, आज 400 दिया गया.
In Assam, there were queues at vaccination centres, with the government hoping to achieve a record 7,10,000 shots to mark the 71st birthday of the Prime Minister.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का जन्मदिन है, तो आज हमारा जो पहला ध्यान है, यह ध्यान है कैसे हम लोग 7,10,000 वैक्सीनेशन कर सकता हूँ.
Some citizens asked why similar vaccination drives were not possible every day.
This is a special push. Otherwise, every day we try to give more and more number of people. It's not like that we don't want to give in other days.
ऐसे सोचते हैं कि किसी का बर्थडे होगा तो हमें और ज़्यादा करना चाहिए, लेकिन अगर हम ये रोज़ करने लग गए तो लोगों का फ़ायदा होगा.
In some non-BJP ruled places, like Delhi, where vaccination rates are already among the highest, it was vaccination as usual, with no push for a record high. With Alok Pandey and Akshay Dongre, Maya Sharma for NDTV.
Medical camps, distribution of prosthetic limbs for differently abled, distribution of fruits at old age homes, hospitals, orphanages. The BJP rolled out a 20-day birthday celebration campaign. The Congress observed the day as National Unemployment Day.
The BJP is celebrating the Prime Minister's 71st birthday, calling it Seva Samarpan Abhiyan. The 20-day campaign will be marked by events across the country.
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी को उनके जन्म दिवस पर अपनी ओर से और करोड़ों भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं की ओर से कोटि कोटि बधाई देता हूं। आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी परिवार ने आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के जन्मदिन पर सेवा और समर्पण अभियान की शुरुआत की है।
The campaign has a clear political message. It ends on 7th October, the day Narendra Modi became Chief Minister of Gujarat 20 years back. But it is also to overcome criticism the government faced during the terrible second wave, with the Prime Minister calling off his Bengal campaign just days after praising the size of crowds, even as cases and deaths were surging. As people suffered a shortage of oxygen and mass funerals were held, many questioned why the Prime Minister was not more visible.
On the birth anniversary of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP has put up these posters taking credit for the welfare scheme that has been launched by the government of India and funded by taxpayers' money. The question, can a political party take credit for a scheme by the government and make it look like charity from that political party?
In Mumbai, Congress workers gathered outside the iconic Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj terminus as the Congress organized protests across the country to mark the Prime Minister's birthday. The Congress organizing protests on Prime Minister Modi's birthday, saying that this is of course something that they will observe as National Unemployment Day or Rashtriya Berozgar Divas, as this poster says. Youth Congress workers sold tea in graduation grounds. The Mumbai Youth Congress President Zishan Siddiqui polished shoes to showcase youth taking up low-paying jobs as they can't find unemployment. Not only in Mumbai, but protests also in Raisina Road in the national capital, in Chandigarh, Thiruvananthapuram and Bengaluru as well. An NDTV Bureau Report.
Now, the GST Council on Friday met in Lucknow. It was an in-person meeting. After the meeting, the Finance Minister stated that the GST Council discussed the topic of inclusion of petrol and diesel under the tax structure after the Kerala High Court order. The Minister said that the GST Council felt it was not the time to bring petroleum products under the GST. Also, food delivery apps like Zomato and Swiggy will have to pay GST. The government says it's not a new tax. The food delivery apps will pay instead of the restaurants.
The High Court of Kerala has decided that this matter be brought to the GST's notice and discussed. It was discussed. This will be reported to the High Court of Kerala that we have discussed, and the GST Council felt that it wasn't the time for them to bring the petroleum products into the GST. So we shall report that to the court. The sum and substance of what is agreed is the place where the food is delivered will be the point on which the tax will be collected, and collected by them, the gig groups, Swiggy and others, and they will therefore pay up the GST on it.
Well, so I think it would be interesting to dwell upon the 2 or 3 things that affect your and my life. First of all, a lot of us were hoping against hope that petrol and diesel would be brought under the ambit of the GST, meaning cheaper rates and not the killer rates that we pay on the roads right now. That hasn't happened. The Finance Minister clarifying that the Council did take it up for discussion, but only after orders from the Kerala High Court, and that they are going to go back to court and report that in the discussion, everyone, there was a consensus, felt that at the moment there is no scope for this, and that is why it is not being done. Will we have to pay more for the food that we order from aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato? The finance minister says no, although these aggregators are going to be taxed. Now what the revenue secretary explained was that because a lot of restaurants were not or failing to be in the ambit of GST, what they are now doing is that suppose I order food from Swiggy, Zomato or anyone else, then Zomato or Swiggy or that aggregator collects GST from me and passes it on to the government, rather than passing it on to the restaurant which then passes it on to the government, meaning that our food is not likely to get more expensive, but yes, the food aggregators are going to be taxed. Another very important thing was that some life-saving drugs, not only COVID drugs but non-COVID drugs like those used in the treatment of cancer, they will be given GST exemption. There are different rates in the press release. I'm sure we'll get to know of that, but that is the gist of it. And the final point, why are pens being made more expensive in this day and age when we all need them on a daily basis? But there is some technicality there, but we are told that the GST effectively moves from 12% to 18%, and that clearly is something that perhaps could have been avoided.
Now, Akali Dal observed Black Day on Friday to mark 1 year of the nationwide protests against the centre's farm laws. Earlier in the day, angry farmers, Akali Dal workers and other protesters massed at Delhi's borders where police had put up barricades and closed specific roads and also 2 metro stations to stop them from entering Delhi.
Calling it a Black Friday, Shiromani Akali Dal and the BSP took out a protest march to Parliament to mark 1 year of the passing of 3 controversial farm laws. Akali Dal Chief Sukhbir Singh Badal led the march along with former Union Cabinet Minister Harsimrat Kaur Badal, who was in the cabinet when it cleared the farm laws.
ਸਾਡੇ ਵਰਕਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਿਆ, ਲਾਠੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਕੀਤੇ, ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਤੋੜੀਆਂ, ਪੀਸਫੁਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਲਿੱਤੀ ਪੀਸਫੁਲ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਓ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਹਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਆਏ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੀਸਫੁਲ ਹੈ। ਪੂਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੂਰਾ ਦੇਸ਼ ਮੋਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਹੋਇਆ ਬੈਠਾ ਹੈ।
The police stopped the protest just ahead of the Parliament complex, but by then the national capital witnessed traffic jams at several places. Back in Punjab, the Chief Minister called for a constitutional amendment to revoke the laws and help resolve the almost 10-month-long farmers' protest. The Akali Dal and the Congress are currently the 2 main rivals in the upcoming state assembly election.
ਜਦੋਂ 127 ਵਾਰ ਕਨਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਅਮੈਂਡ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਤਾਂ 28 ਵਾਰ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਦ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਰੱਦ ਕਰੋ, ਫਿਰ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੈਪੂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਤਬਦੀਲੀ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਔਰ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਬਿੱਲ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰ ਦਿਓ। ਕਿਆ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਹੈ?
Around 11 senior Akali leaders, including Sukhbir Singh Badal and Harsimrat Kaur, were detained by the police for defying prohibitory orders and proceeding with the protest march. They were, however, released in the evening. With Arvind Gunasekar in Delhi, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Welcome back. In another record in terms of filling up vacancies in the judiciary, 3-member Supreme Court Collegium led by Chief Justice of India Justice N.V. Ramana has recommended the elevation of 8 judges as Chief Justices of various high courts at one go.
Justice Akhil Qureshi, who's been in the news, is finally set to be transferred from a smaller Tripura High Court, which he heads, to the Chief Justice of the much bigger Rajasthan High Court. While the Tripura High Court has 4 judges, Rajasthan High Court has 50 judges. The promotion comes after Justice Qureshi did not feature in the list of 9 recent appointments to the Supreme Court, despite his being number 2 in the All India list of seniority for judges of high courts. In 2010, Justice Qureshi had sent Amit Shah, now the Union Home Minister, to police custody for his alleged involvement in the Sohrabuddin Sheikh encounter case. In 2011, Justice Qureshi had upheld the then Gujarat Governor Kamla Beniwal's decision to appoint former High Court Judge R.A. Mehta as the state's Lokayukta. It had been opposed by then Chief Minister Modi. The lack of consensus in the collegium over recommending his name had led to a 2-year-long impasse over the appointments. Justice Qureshi's promotion comes at a time when the Supreme Court is said to be speeding ahead with a spate of transfers and appointments. In another new record in filling up vacancies in the judiciary, a 3-member Supreme Court collegium led by Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana had recommended elevation of 8 judges as Chief Justices of various High Courts at one go, according to sources. This just 2 weeks after the collegium in a first recommended 68 names in one go for elevation as judges to the 12 High Courts. The CJI had then requested a speedy approval from the government at an event also attended by the Union Law Minister. Despite the government's assurance, 2 weeks have passed and 68 names are yet to be cleared.
Earlier this month, CJI N.V. Ramana had said that it is his endeavour to address the issue of vacancies in the higher judiciary on an urgent basis, and he expects that 90% of the vacancies in high courts will be filled by next month. In New Delhi, with camera person Sanjay Kaushik, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Well, that's a wrap on this bulletin from the entire team. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.